Hello and welcome to an Icon new video, and today we're going to be talking about the fact that the player is a character in Deltarune and how it works. See, Deltarune has a lot of meta-narrative elements to it, and a lot of people believe that the player is part of that meta-narrative. The way it works is the following, at least that's how we presume it works. We are controlling Chris, not in the same way we control Mario, because see, in a normal video game you control someone like Mario. Technically the player is in control of the character, but in the story they are still their own character. Not with Chris, however. Chris is being actively possessed by the player inside of the story of Deltarune. And we have actively seen Chris defy the player's actions. Not only if the player does bad things, but also if the player, as in we, are doing, good things, like saving everyone. No matter what, Chris is defying you. And this seems to be building up to the fact that at some point in time, Chris is going to be, entirely against you. However, a lot of people think this is very stupid. Because you see, the following argument can be made. Well, if Chris wins, I can just delete the game. Because yes, as soon as you put the player into your story, you have to see everything a player can do. Everything the player can do is canon. That includes deleting the game. However, the way Deltarune deals with that is actually good. For you see, Deltarune is actually a goddamn program inside of the lore. We actually got Deltarune Chapter 1 through Toby Fox on Twitter, who was role-playing as Gaster for some reason. However, the way it was presented was a survey program. So, canonically speaking, we, the player, are interacting with the survey program that is interacting with Chris. So, Chris isn't fighting directly against us. Chris is fighting against the program. We can technically, at any point, sever the connection by deleting the survey program without destroying the story, because the story doesn't need us to function. This connection right here doesn't actually exist. And because of this survey program's existence, the game is actually able to, get over a bunch of downfalls that can be had when including the player in the story. A very good example of a game understanding this exact thing is DDLC, also known as Doki Doki Literature Club. It knows exactly that the player can at any point just delete the game. It knows it so well, in fact, that to beat the game, you have to delete Monica from the game. DDLC knows what the player is capable of and actively plays into it. It never once questions the authority of the player, because the player has absolute authority over a video game because the delete button always exists. A game that doesn't understand that would be Undertale. Yep, this is just a Chara hate fury video again. It's like, I hate it. It is, in Undertale, heavily implied that Chara is talking to the player and asking the player, "Do you think you were the one in control?" To which I can only say, fucking obviously, I pressed the button, funny girl. Like, my guy. I pressed the button again, and I proceeded to press the button a third time. Over and over and over again, which led me to this point because I wanted to see the story of Undertale. Whoa-ho-ho-ho-ho, ho-ho-ho-ho. Since when were you the one in control? Since when were you so fucking stupid? I'm still in control. I can delete you at any point. Reset this, you fucking bitch. What? Point is, it doesn't know how to properly deal with a player. And that kind of has me worried about Deltarune as well, because Undertale is also written by Toby Fox. However, it's fine. Because I have the theory that it is in fact the survey program that we are dealing with. And at no point in Deltarune will the player lose control while still having control of the survey program. See, what Chris is trying to do in the story is trying to get rid of the control, which is being done over the survey program. So what visually Chris is trying to do is sever the connection between themselves and the survey program. We as the player still have complete control over the survey program, but the survey program no longer has control over the soul that Chris uses. And I think that is a possibility that can happen in Deltarune. However, then we would, have to have some sort of way to still look at this. Perhaps the only thing that is cut off is the actual control part, but we can still see what Chris and the Fun Gang and everyone else does. Then we would still have the ability to see what is actually going on within the game without breaking immersion, because we are still just looking through the survey program, but we are actually seeing it because not seeing the ending of the game just because you made a few wrong choices here and there is objectively fucking bad. So yeah, if this cutoff happens in one of the endings of Deltarune, if presumably there are multiple ways to achieve the one ending and one of the ways is this one, then this whole thing makes sense again. Of course, we can still just delete the survey program, but that doesn't stop Chris from being able to do it. Because they are not cutting off connection with the player, they're cutting off connection with a thing that isn't omniscient. This distinction is the most important distinction you can have if you don't want to include a failsafe for when, you know, the player decides to delete the game. Or especially if you want the player to lose control over said game. If you want a player to slowly lose control, you need to have some sort of device that the player uses to assert control over it. Because if the player does it directly, it doesn't work, because the player can just delete the entire game and reinstall it and suddenly everything's fine again. Basically, what this video is trying to tell you is that this is a Deltarune appreciation video. I applaud Toby Fox for actually coming up with a thing where he can actually go ahead and take control away from the player without it being completely fucking brain dead, like in his prior game. Of course, we don't know if it will actually happen. Deltarune hasn't come out yet. It'll come out tomorrow. However, I commend the effort that went into writing this, you know, way of it possibly happening. And if you're still confused as to how canon the player is, in my theory that the survey program is the thing that is actually asserting control over Chris, basically, you are you. You're just, this is playing the game. The character just doesn't like being played with. To put it in the most simple terms, player is playing the video game, but Mario does not want to jump. Mario, however, is forced to jump. So yeah, I think that is genuinely how it works. And I think that is a really good way of actually writing it. Because again, if you introduce the player to your story, you need to account for everything the player can do. And one of the very, very big things the player can do is delete the game and reinstall it. That's why Chara saying, "Since when were you the one in control?" doesn't make any sense. Because, bitch, I still am. Why is this petulant boy talking to me like that? And did you realize that I called Chara all 3 pronouns this video? Anyway, if you're confused as to whether or not a player exists in Undertale, I would, urge you to check out the What is Chara theory. And if you're confused as to how I came up with that and what my opinion on my own theory is, you can check out the I Hate Chara theory. I wonder what my opinion on that is. And so I only have one thing left to say. It's crazy, messed up even. That's actually crazy. Life. I don't know why I said it like that. Anyway, yeah, my thing goes absolutely goddamn hard. Cue the clown.